we are down to 11 days. And as a Christian, how should you vote in the voting booth? Author and blogger David Shedlock is in the house today live on The View.
Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome. A little bit after 3 o'clock on this 25th day of October in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is The View from a Pew, heard live on webcastonelive.com, theviewfromapew.com, and locally on 99.3 KTIA. We know that you have a lot of choices to watch or listen at this time of day, and we just thank you for giving us a chance. We continue our conversation with the upcoming election. It's so easy. It's so easy to bring our biblical worldview into this election because there is no clear, and tell me if anybody disagrees with me, but I don't think there is a clear Christian candidate. Now, it depends on who you talk to, of course. There are those people that will tell you that Mormons are Christians. There are those people who will tell you that Barack Obama is Islamic. And there's enough voices in that argument to deafen Wells Fargo. It's a big discussion, and it's not going to get decided until November 6th. And until then, your voice is welcome in the middle of this conversation. And you can chime in at any time on the chat at theviewfromapew.com. You can also call in at 1-855-244-0077. That's a toll-free nationwide line. I've got my Facebook up if you want to jump on Facebook, whatever works best for you. David Shedlock, author and blogger. His book, Christ in the Voting Booth, is now available on Amazon.
Yep.
And
Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
Just type with Christ in the Voting Booth and you'll
find out where
somewhere.
you can get it. And also, he blogs on caffeinatedthoughts.com.
Correct.
Yeah. Bob, you want to say something? You were holding your hand up. Are you just trying to...
I was scratching my head.
Scratching? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see. If I was an auctioneer, you just would have bought something.
Yeah, I know.
Bob Monster at the Cat in the Hat watching the chat, and, of course, Father Tattoo in the production room running the whole show. And it was Father Tattoo's idea that David Shedlock come in today because Father Tattoo and I have come to somewhat of a impasse on where these candidates stand on their faith and values and how we should vote for them. And so Mr. Tattoo now, huh? Father Tattoo thought that David Shedlock could come in and shed some light on this.
That's a good one.
I think he stacked the books.
Shed some light.
I think he stacked the books against me, but that's okay. I like David Shedlock. He's a good Christian man, and I always appreciate, even though I may not agree with his humble opinion.
As the great Admiral Akbar from Star Wars once said, it's a trap.
Yes, I know that it's a trap.
Okay.
I knew that all along. I'm a smart little boy. All right, so, but I want to have a good conversation today because I'd like to learn something. Because I'm kind of stuck too. I mean, I've been a Romney guy since I first met Mr. Romney when he was governor of Massachusetts. And our the company that I worked for had a home base in Massachusetts, and we went to a function in which my partner and the president of my broadcast company, I was not that president, there was somebody else, was being honored, and Governor Romney was there. And I'll never forget the look he gave me when I said I was from Iowa. And he said, I love Iowa. I'll be there to visit you soon. Now, this is, what, 94? No. This is late 80s when he was governor. I don't remember when exactly it was. And I didn't really knew what he meant at that time, but he obviously had an eye for the political scene long before anybody else knew it, except maybe his kids and his wife, and I'm sure his father knew it. So this is hard for me because I have been a Romney supporter, and I would tell you that if I called somebody in his cabinet and said Mac McCoy's on the phone, he would know who that is. I couldn't say Mac, but if I said Mac from Iowa or Mac McCoy, he's been in my home and spent the evening. I've been in his. We have spent holidays together. I really care about this man, and I have a perception of him that only those people that know him well know, and I don't like to push that perception because I don't know if that's fair. If I say, you got to trust me, I know this guy, you don't know it. It's kind of like, who was the guy in the presidential debate that said, I knew Jack Kennedy and you're no Jack Kennedy? Yeah. That was the vice presidential debate.
Was that Lloyd Benson?
Yep.
That was Lloyd Benson and the potato guy. Couldn't spell potato.
Dan Quayle.
Dan Quayle. So I don't like to do that because I think that's, I don't know, maybe that's arrogant, probably a little bit, to say, I know more than you, so that makes me smarter than you. But on that note, I know more than you about Mitt Romney, and he's a good man. But the diehard, devout, biblical worldview Christians, in many cases, are refusing to support him because his religion is seen as unacceptable. And there are some that might give you particular positions that Romney has taken, how some of those positions have evolved from being governor of a heavily Democratic state to running the Olympics to now running for president for 6 years. Probably fair to say he was in Iowa probably 2 years before the caucuses.
Longer than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm interested in learning today. I'd like to learn why it is that God will be disappointed in me if I vote for Mitt Romney. Or why, if I vote for Mitt Romney, I'm not voting biblically correct. Or if I don't vote for either candidate, why is that not a throwaway vote? Why have I not, neener at the Constitution and the millions of men and women that have died in combat for 300 years, so I have the right to go into a voting booth and know that I'm safe and I will not be attacked, bombed, killed, manslaughtered, raped? I think it's a slam to our veterans when we don't use our vote correctly, when we don't cherish that vote, when we don't make that vote count. So, Mr. Shedlock, there's my opening statement. As the prosecution here, you go ahead and have your opening statement.
Well, you touched on several different things there. There are several different approaches. Let's start from where I'm coming from. I am not on a crusade to talk Christians out of voting for Mitt Romney. As I've debated this issue since we last talked, I think the first time I was on the program was, I believe, in May, and it's actually been, the shoe's been on the other foot, and you kind of alluded to it, and that is I have been in the position of defending not voting for Romney as opposed to going on the offensive and telling others not to vote for him. Okay? In other words, that's actually two different approaches, two different ways of looking at this issue. There is me calling it a sin for someone else to vote for Romney, and then there's the approach that they may not use the word sin, but you have come pretty close. Maybe you didn't use the word sin, but when you talk about throwing away the vote, dishonoring the veterans, the various things, the pressures are put on people who have decided not to vote for either candidate. I'd say it's a 50-50 deal at best. And I would actually, my own experience, but what good's that? Own experience is like, opinions. They don't really matter too much. But is that it's at least slightly on the side of pushing people to vote for Romney. And I understand that partly because of the desperation of the situation. Every poll comes out today, for example, that Iowa is a toss-up.
Yeah,
in many states, Ohio is a toss-up.
I've heard that there's, what did I say, Father Tattoo? There's 1,100 votes in 17 counties that they've identified in Iowa that they're undecided. And those 1,100 votes in 17 counties in Iowa will decide where the electoral votes for Iowa goes.
Could be. So I understand the pressure, perhaps the fear, perhaps the intensity of this race that would cause people to push people who've decided not to vote for either candidate to vote for Romney. So I understand the motivation behind it, but I would argue that if we're going to push people to vote for Romney as opposed to sitting out, my bigger concern is not voting for Romney. If someone decides to vote for Romney, there is some ways in which that's between them and God. I'm not going to judge them. Where I'm more concerned is the defenses used for that vote for Romney. Or, in the other hand, the things that are being said to me to push me to vote for Romney. Okay. That's where people are going off the rails.
Okay.
It isn't so much the fact that if they want to privately go into the booth and vote for Mitt Romney, I don't really care. But it's when they come out publicly and say things. Let's take your first argument that somehow by not voting, I'm throwing away a freedom that was won by our military personnel. First of all, we have the freedom in this country not to vote, and I'm sure that many of the men in the military also would, if you would ask them, they have. In other words, it's not freedom. If I'm bound to vote, if I'm somehow legally or even morally obligated to vote, it's no longer a freedom.
Well, I obviously you're not legally bound to vote, but I would argue that you're morally. I would stand on that line.
So I only use this extreme example because you're stating it like it's a principle.
That's fine.
If it's a principle, that means I'd have to vote between Hitler and Stalin. I'd be more if the two candidates were extremely publicly known as murderers. I'd have to choose one or the other, and I don't think you believe that. I don't think you believe I'd have to choose between one of those two candidates. Do you?
No.
Okay. So I question whether it's a principle that you must vote. Now, once we've established it's not a principle that you must vote, then we go back to what standard shall we use to determine not just who we vote for, but whether either candidate is qualified. My position is that neither Obama nor Romney are qualified to be president.
But if you don't vote for either one of them, the lean, the credit goes to Obama.
That's one I don't understand.
You don't think that?
No, because here's the scoop. Somebody keeps saying if you don't vote for Romney, that counts as a vote for Obama. My question is, I'm not voting for Obama either. So why doesn't that vote count for Romney?
All right. David Shedlock is in the house today as we discuss the very delicate conversation, as we discuss the topic of how can a Christian choose to vote for either one of those candidates. And I'm talking somebody who lives a biblical worldview or does their best to do that. I'm not talking about Sino, Christian in name only. The guy that shows up to church a dozen times a year and says, yeah, I'm a Christian. I know where I'm going when I die. I'm talking about those of us that walk the walk and talk the talk. Brian Leach from Service Legends is in the house, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, a Father Tattoo in the production studio, and our special guest from his book, Christ in the Voting Booth. Mr. David Shedlock is in the house, live here on 99.3 KTIA Iowa, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Have you ever been told you're not a good enough Christian? Well, we have too. Join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. Now here's your host, president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 321. You know, when a kid gets a new toy, it's just amazing what he does with it. And Father Tattoo has mastered the software and hardware that we have in this studio. And if you've never been down here, you're welcome anytime. Just let me know, and we'll meet you down here and give you a tour. It's nothing fancy. In fact, it kind of looks like a boys' dorm room. But technically, how do I say this without sounding arrogant? This is really the bang. I mean, this studio and the equipment that we have and the internet hookup, we've got a 5 meg pipe, static. We've got great cameras and great audio and green screen and a distribution point to push it out on. And anyway, you're welcome to come down anytime. As my friend John Bachman said when he was down here once, he said, or not John Bachman, Dan Winters said, this is like a mini TV station. And it kind of is, except the guy doesn't usually have a camera sitting right in front of him, but I do that. So when they look at me, it looks like they're looking at you.
But I can't figure out for the life of me why you keep touching that camera.
Because I like it. It's my pet.
You're killing me, though. I got to change camera shots.
Good
every
camera,
time
baby
you do that.
boy. Daddy loves you. All right, so in the event that we can't convince Father Tattoo that a vote for anyone other than Obama and Romney is the wrong vote, he has decided that he's going to write in McCoy and Coates. And
I just had some criteria. It was they needed to be Christian.
Right.
They needed to be American.
Right.
And they needed to be consistent.
Have you looked at my birth certificate?
You know what?
I mean, you never know. I'm white trash from Nebraska. I could have been born like in Missouri, which I don't know if that's really a state.
If I could give you $5 million, would you produce all this stuff for me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I can't. So I'm just going to have to take your word on it because you're a Christian. I can trust your sense of values.
Okay. All right. So anyway, this is the new TV commercial. Yes, this is the second one that Mr. Tattoo put together for McCoy and Coates for president and vice president. Watch this.
Both Mitt Romney and President Barack Obama have flip-flopped on almost every major issue. J. Michael McCoy doesn't even like flip-flops. In fact, he says they're garbage. Vote J. Michael McCoy and Tom Coates November 6th, and remember to vote early and vote often.
I'm J. Michael McCoy, and I'm running for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Americans who want better choices and the I'm not voting for any of these clowns super PAC.
Okay, so very good. So what cabinet position would you like? I mean, this is all made up anyway, so what would you like to be?
Whichever one would allow me to throw away most laws, regulations, and IRS tax code dating back to the Constitution. We'll start back over.
Attorney General.
Of the country?
Yeah.
They have one? Okay,
yeah, you'd
cool.
be the Attorney General. And you'd be in charge of, overthrowing laws. And
isn't there a
If
system?
you look at what Holden did, he just did anything he wanted.
Don't you technically have to have a law degree probably to do that one?
I'll get him one.
Oh, that's what assistants
if Obama
are for.
can get one from Harvard or wherever he got it, for heaven's sakes, I can get one for Leach. Leach is twice the man that Obama is. Bob,
Fair
what
enough.
cabinet position would you like? I was thinking
chaplain, maybe.
I don't think that's I don't think that's a cabinet.
Hey, we're going all the way back and make one.
We're going to raise it up to a cabinet
There you
position.
go.
That's right. White House chaplain on the President's Council. And Mr. Shedlock, what would you like?
I would like to be the powdered sugar donut czar.
Really? That's an important job.
Yes, it is.
I'm
in charge of the powdered sugar donuts. They have to be tested every day.
Sifting that powdered sugar and getting just the right amount on. Oh, that's important. Now, I already know what cabinet position you're going to have, but just for humor's sake, Father Tattoo, what cabinet position would you like to have?
Oh, I'm a much too humble of man to be in politics, but thank you.
All right. This is an important conversation today. I invented, or I don't know if I invented this show. This show is something I've done for a lot of years, and it's because I'm not a good enough Christian, and I know that. And I always have wonderful questions from theologists and authors and people that admittedly know more than I do. I don't have any problem admitting that. Most people know more than I do about most things. And I like to learn. And so holding a position that I have and inviting people to come in to differ with me and to explain to me why I'm wrong or why my position is wrong or why I should change my mind is almost like fodder to me. It's like fresh meat to a bear. I really enjoy those conversations because I try to be humble before the Lord, and my definition of humble is to be teachable. And I think God sends me people who teach me things that I didn't know before. And I don't think there's few people that I know other than David Shedlock who understand the Bible in the voting booth. I mean, his book, Christ in the Voting Booth, talks just about that. Plus, he's a blogger on Caffeinated Thoughts. We do see back up. I say voting for no one in president or voting for a long-lost third-party candidate is a throwaway vote. Do you agree with that position?
Sure. I would rather throw away my vote in that on that ballot position than to vote for a candidate that's not qualified.
All right. Why is Barack Obama not qualified?
Well, let's start with he does make my first standard is that they be a Christian.
Okay.
Barack Obama professes to be a Christian.
He says he is.
So, and I'm not privy to all of the confessions he made before his church elders or whatever it was to that he could become a member of the church he was a member of. So I can't judge him on that. By the way, I'll just, as a side issue, before we get to Mitt Romney, I'll just suggest I don't claim to know what Mitt Romney's heart is like either. Okay, we're not talking about what's in the man's heart.
Okay.
We can't see that.
Okay.
Okay, we can only see number one, the profession they make, and number two, the outward public life that they live.
Okay.
Someone could live a private life that's very corrupt and evil and mistreat their family and do awful things. But publicly, they might be an upstanding citizen.
Okay.
Okay. By the same token, they might live outwardly pretty well, but their heart's not right, or they make a profession that's not legitimate. So let's back to Obama.
Okay.
The problem with Obama is that his public life, particularly as a politician, is not at all consistent with Christianity. The defense of the murder of unborn children, there really is, as far as the law is concerned, there's not a single unborn child and many born children that Barack Obama would not protect.
Right.
In Illinois, when he was a state senator there, he voted to allow doctors to let babies die or even kill them who are sitting in a bassinet because they survived an abortion.
And he voted for that 3 times.
Yeah.
And just Snoops it or Wikipedia it or whatever you Google it.
Right. So there's no and of course that is a violation of the 6th commandment and a clear support of that violation. So in my view of it, and I believe according to scriptures, that makes him unqualified. I've thought about that more this week. It's not just, by the way, that a candidate not promote the killing of the citizens that he would represent. It goes much beyond that. If you're going to be a civil magistrate in the way that God would have you to be a civil magistrate, you must positively, affirmatively defend the lives of your innocent citizens. It's not just enough to say, well, let's keep the status quo. And so you must affirm that I will fight to protect
So
the
you
lives of
feel
these children.
Obama fails on that?
Yes.
Where does Romney stand on that in your mind?
Okay. He doesn't reach the first standard in that his profession of faith is not a Christian profession. That's not to say I judge his heart. I'm saying outwardly the profession he makes is not Christian.
Well, okay, so I just want to challenge the citizens component, defending them in all life scenario. That would throw any president, because realistically it's not about citizens, it's about the human race, equality and the love for the entire race. So that would throw any president under the bus that went to attack another country for any reason, ultimately breaks the sixth commandment in the scope of death of others, because it's not leading a life in God's way is not about a nation, it's about the whole species, the human race ultimately. Okay. So that was just a thought.
Okay.
To throw in there.
Yeah, I did not address at length the concept of, for example, just defense, just war theory, those kinds of things. It just wasn't within the range of my book.
Absolutely.
And I would be glad to discuss that with you. I would just say that.
And that might have been a rabbit trail.
No, that's fine. I would just say it doesn't fit here because the 2 candidates we already have don't qualify. If you want to bring a third-party candidate in there, we could talk about.
We want to talk about qualifications. Man, first and foremost for me is authenticity. You said Christian. My first and foremost would be the values that are run parallel to God's requested and desired kingdom here on earth. But authenticity, let's shoot it straight for a change. Okay. Because neither candidate, and it's been years, if ever, that there's complete authenticity and truth up there.
I agree.
All these semantics about the budget, this and that, the damn thing won't balance. Pardon me, that but it will not balance.
Sure.
With even if we fired 100% of the entire government, including military, our intake of tax would still not take care of. We'd still be in a deficit just for the subsidized programs such as Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all of those types of things. So,
okay, I would address. First of all, the standard that I look at for starters is that they are Christian, but under that standard is, number one, the Bible teaches they must fear God.
Yep.
They must kiss the Son. And then underneath that is they must be men of truth, which is what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they must not be men of covetousness.
Okay. I don't know what kiss the Son means.
That means you must accept Jesus Christ.
Okay. Oh, kiss the Son.
Yes.
I'm thinking
that's where I went first.
Not the big ball in the sky.
That's who I'm
the very Son of God. Psalm 2.
To kiss the big ball in the
no,
sky.
okay. So, in other words, you must be Christian.
Sure.
Okay. So now, let me back up one more thing before we further address Romney's profession. Again, number one, where people will say to me, well, we're not electing a preacher. We're electing a president. Okay. The problem with that is the Bible, and they'll often add this, it's not like your barber or your grocer or your mechanic. You don't go to them and ask them if they're a Christian. You don't make sure they're a Christian. Well, the problem with comparing the president with those three examples is the Bible does address the qualifications for a civil magistrate.
Okay.
It doesn't address the qualifications for a barber or a grocer. Okay. So that doesn't mean that Mitt Romney
But the Bible
doesn't live a moral life as far as the human morality is concerned.
The Bible does definitely give a code and address human nature overall, all people. So, there, for a barber, heating and air guy,
yes, absolutely.
radio guy. So,
absolutely.
we have guidelines on
Sure.
that.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so, I wouldn't want, for example, a brain surgeon who was an atheist. I mean, I might, because the Bible doesn't forbid it. But I would want someone who had a trust in God when they're going to go in and work on my brain.
You got the choice between two, and we got to watch our time here, but
sure.
You got the choice between two brain surgeons. You're dying. Okay? This country's dying. You're dying. You got the choice between two brain surgeons. And this guy on the left is the best in the business. But he doesn't agree with your biblical view. The guy on the right, you have questions about too. What do? Do you choose a third? There is no third. Okay. There is no third.
I take it that music means I need to answer after the break.
Yes, sir, it does, and thank you for being polite. David Shedlock is my guest, Christ in the voting booth, Brian Leach from Service Legends, Bob Montserrat, and of course, Father Tattoo. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening to The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
if you sit in the back pew or the front pew. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
3:38, 22 before the top, and the Salem Radio Network news, and then it's True Blue, hosted by Pastor Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church in Urbandale, Iowa. And he continues his sermon series on much about what we're talking about right here, is how do you respectfully and honestly vote as a Christian? So that's coming up in the next half hour from 4:03 to 4:30. David Shedlock is my guest. His book, Christ in the Voting Booth, is a great read. Pick it up at Amazon, Borders, wherever you can get it. He also writes a blog at caffeinatedthoughts.com with Shane Vanderhart. Brian Leach is in the house from Service Legends. Bob Montserrat watching the chat. Anything on the chat of value? That's the key, isn't it? Of value.
Of value. There's a lot on chat. But...
Are they having a good time today?
Yeah.
And, of course, Father Tattoo in the production booth. The question I left us with is, David, you've got a deadly cancer in your brain. You will die if you don't have the right surgery done. You have the greatest surgeon in the world who has never lost a patient, but he's an atheist. The other guy over here, he's okay, but he's not very good. You know, he doesn't have the best, but he's a Christian. He's a Christian. So what do you do?
Okay, if your question goes to the literalness of that, in other words, if you're not using that as an analogy for politics, I accept it. I accept that I'm going to pick the better surgeon. There's no question. Okay. Because the Bible hasn't given me any guidelines in that regard. But if we take that then and try and apply it to politics, there's a problem. The first one is, the issue hasn't been addressed yet, is whether or not the Bible permits me, and it doesn't, my understanding of Scripture, it does not permit me to affirmatively vote for a civil magistrate who isn't qualified. So what we'd have there, to use the analogy, I'd say it this way. What you're talking about then is having surgery, whether you want the plumber to do the surgery or whether you want the barber to do the brain surgery. And I don't want either one. I'd rather die of cancer than have either one of those do the surgery.
You got to be 35. You got to be born in this country, and you've got to get your name on the ballots in all 50 states to be a qualified candidate for president. What other qualifications are there?
Okay, I'm not talking about legal qualifications.
He's talking about his personal.
I'm talking about the standards by which I believe, or not by which I believe, the standards which I would decide who to vote for or not vote for. And I believe those standards come from Scripture. So it's not a matter of addressing the legal standards. I'm talking about the moral standards by which I could vote for one of these candidates.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. I love going to root of issue. So the last several weeks, whether I was on the show or listening to the show, there's been a lot of dialogue as a Christian. How do I pick one of these candidates? We know both of them have told non-truths. Some have done other things, sin-related or against the Ten Commandments, those type of things. At what point as Christians do we draw a line in the sand and we just say, you know what, the leaders that we have to choose from right now are a culmination of our society. And the culmination of our society starts in the home. It starts in our families, and it starts with getting outside of those families, creating moral code and values within our families, then in our outer circle families, then in our friends, then in our communities, and then our churches, and then into our politics and government system, because the politicians that we have to select are a culmination of our responsibilities as Christians, the sleeping giant that sits on its laurels and loves to gripe when something isn't going right. And there's so much more action at the ground floor, at the root level, that can be done to change this culmination of what politics is producing in our leadership.
Well, sure. I think at this point the candidates we have reflect our culture.
Absolutely. Agree.
I'm not desperate about voting for one reason, because it's not as if our country is largely controlled top down.
Yep.
We have big government. We have oversized government.
Sure.
Because that's what the people want. It's wrong for the people to want that.
Right.
It's suicidal for them to want that.
Right.
But that's what they want. And so, to me, switching the candidates around at the top level isn't going to make much difference. Even if you had the ideal candidate, he's still got the congressman to work with. Is it 400 and I should know this? 436.
That begs the answer to the question of what I stated, and I apologize for stating it on break, audience. But what the heck would happen if a qualified candidate got put in play? What would our country do to them? What would our Senate, our Congress, our legislation, what would they do to them? What would our society, what would the media do to them? If an individual got up on the podium and during a debate said, well, here's my flaws, here's where I'm vulnerable, here's where my strengths are, here's how I can apply it, I'm a sinned man, I've made mistakes, here's the mistakes, and they got completely vulnerable, dumped the skeletons on the closet.
That's what he did 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, we hated him.
To a certain extent, yeah.
He won in Iowa, and I think that was it, wasn't it?
Well, he ended up winning about 10 states during the primary season.
Arkansas.
But a lot of the states that he won were later on Super Tuesday, for example, when he was already well behind in the delegate count.
Yeah.
So, but as far as let's briefly go back to Mitt Romney here. When I suggested the profession, I just want to make it clear what I'm saying there. I'm not saying that his lifestyle, personal lifestyle, doesn't match with his profession. That's something else a person could look at. But certainly that's not what I'm addressing here. I'm addressing his profession to be a Mormon. I'm willing to say that.
Is this where he's disqualified in your mind?
No, it's right under there because Mormonism is not Christian. So, in other words, if he said I'm an atheist, he'd be disqualified. If he said I just don't, I'm not an atheist, but I just don't believe in that Jesus
David,
stuff.
that's like a Jew. That's like a Jewish person standing up and saying Christians are liars, and they don't know the real Word of God.
Well, let me ask you
because
this.
what Mormons are to Christianity, Christianity is to Judaism.
Except that, Mac, let me ask you a question here. Is Christianity true? Is the Bible true? Is the Bible the infallible Word of God?
Okay.
No, just answer the question.
Line up 10 people, and what answers you think you'll get.
No, I want to know what your heart says. I'm not asking 10 people. I'm just asking J. Michael McCoy.
Why does that matter in this conversation?
Because let me draw.
Okay, of course you know it is.
Okay, so if that's true, then the difference between the Jew saying that Christianity is like Mormonism is to Christianity is that we're right and Mormonism is wrong, and so is the Jewish religion.
But only God gets to say we're right.
But God did say we're right.
Okay.
That's the whole problem. Is
and
God
the Jews said God said they were right.
Yeah, but they were right up until a point. God's departed from that. He's cut those branches from the tree and he grafted us in.
Okay. Now, David, see, and with all the love I can have for you, I just want to make this statement. That makes you a bigot. It means that you, and I hate that term. I hate that term like I hate the term racist. But when we make a determination about someone that is only our opinion, but we put it out there as fact, and therefore disqualify or lower a man or a woman's standing in our society, they are a victim of bigotry.
Okay, let me address that.
All right.
It's not true. First of all, I'm not addressing anything other than what the Word of God has addressed. The Bible is true. The Bible is the standard by which we make judgments. Now, we're not, again, I'm not judging his heart, but the Bible is clear that it is the duty of Christians to determine what is Christian and what is not, what is true doctrine and what is false doctrine.
Hold on. It's up to people to determine what's true Christian and not, or it's up to God?
Well, why did he put it in his Word of God, in the Word, if he didn't want us to use it to judge?
Okay, but
He put these standards in the Word of God that we might be able to judge what is true and what is false.
Then
better
what
word for that would be perceive.
It goes back to what Brian said. Then nobody will ever qualify. Only Jesus would have qualified to lead this country.
That's not true.
Well, name somebody.
Rick Perry.
Okay.
Michelle Bachmann.
Okay. And Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee.
And Mike Huckabee. Okay,
but they're not in position. They're not running the race.
But you're asking me to say that Mormonism might be true.
I'm asking you to forgive, as God would, that maybe the man made a wrong choice in denomination.
It's not a personal thing against me that I have a duty to forgive. It's whether he's qualified. He's not qualified because the Bible says he must fear God and kiss the Son. You understand that?
Okay, we're coming back with David Shedlock next.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, we're back. 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News, and then True Blue with Pastor Michael Mudloff. Let's get right back to where we were
Sure.
because I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the Bible teaches that believers not to be unequally yoked. That is, they're not to be yoked with unbelievers. The only way that scripture makes any sense whatsoever is if that person or people or Christians have the ability to decide who's a believer and who's unbeliever. Not in the sense of who's going to heaven and who's not, but whether or not in the situation that you're judging, that person qualifies in a certain way. If I'm a father and my daughter is going to be courted by someone, and she says, I want to marry this, let's stick with Mormonism for a moment. This guy's a Mormon. Do I have the authority as her father? And does she, is she bound before God to say, I can't marry this guy? He's not a Christian.
I don't think voting for president and allowing your daughter to marry somebody is the same thing. I'm sorry.
Well, as a nation, it's more important. Now, as an individual, I don't think the vote's that important, okay? But as far as making me making a personal decision, it is the same.
Okay, let me ask you this. And Brian, jump in here. I don't want to hog all the time because he and I could do this for probably 2 hours. Let's talk about consequences. The consequences of Christians not voting for Mitt Romney because it's not biblically correct is what? Obama wins.
Okay. I'll accept that premise.
Right. So what happens to this country if Obama wins?
I do not know.
Well, let's look at his track record. I mean, let's just look at what he's done for 4 years.
What happens if Romney wins?
Okay. Tell me.
One thing that happens is many more Christian ministers, and I could go through the list right now of ministers who have claimed that Mormonism is Christian. That is plunging our nation into spiritual darkness. Well, now the question is...
Wait a minute, hold on. This goes back to they tried to knock out Nixon because he was quote-unquote a Quaker. They tried to knock out Kennedy because he was quote-unquote a Catholic.
Okay.
It's never made any difference. It's never made it. We all of a sudden as a country did not become more Catholic in 1960.
Are we better as a country, though?
Because of what?
I'm just you said it never made any difference, and
Kennedy's presidency.
Yeah, I'm just saying, as a country, we're not in a better moral situation than we were in the 50s.
Oh no, but you can't blame that on the president.
I'm not blaming. I'm just saying that it didn't do anything. Your point's kind of invalid because it didn't make it any worse or better. It's up to God.
No, the point that I was trying to make is the opposition said Jack Kennedy shouldn't be president because he'll let the Pope run the country. That was the exact thing that was said.
Let me ask you this. Barack Obama, as I said earlier, has not found an unborn child that he would protect. Mitt Romney, on the other hand, has pretended and acted like and said he's pro-life. And yet, as recently as 2 weeks ago, he said he would not oppose abortion in the cases of the health of the mother.
Right.
Now, anybody who's been in the pro-life movement for any time knows that means every abortion.
0.7% of all abortions are from rape, incest, or the life of a mother. 0.7%. That means that we could save 52.5 million babies if we just say, let's have that as a government standard.
You didn't hear what I said. Mitt Romney 2 weeks ago said he supports abortion in the cases of a problem with the health of the mother.
I understand
that. means all abortions he accepts. Health of the mother.
No.
Anybody that's been in pro-life.
You're reading between the lines.
No. Health of the mother simply means the woman goes to a doctor and says, this is for my psychological health. This is for my financial health.
You think
this
that's
is for
what
my
he
social
meant?
Health.
You think that's what he meant?
I know that he has a long record of supporting child killing.
I'm tempted to get him on the phone, but he wouldn't come on the phone. But Brian, we got just a couple minutes left.
Yep. What do you want to know?
Well, my
Everything
question is,
you know.
My question is, before you go to Brian, is in God's eyes, if a Christian votes for either candidate, are they committing a sin?
I'm not gonna pass judgment on that. I could not do it. It would be
would
a sin
it be a
for
sin
me.
for you?
It would be a sin for me to vote for either one of these candidates.
Yeah, it'd be a sin for me. It's against my conscience.
But for others, so therefore others would not be held if they voted for either one.
Yeah,
So biblically, it's not a sin.
No, it's but you're bound to your conscience, Mac. So if your conscience says this is a good thing,
My conscience said for 16 years I needed to drink alcohol at night to be able to go to sleep.
But that's
and it worked because if I drank, I slept.
So I agree that.
Well, I do want to make the statement that it is important that an individual, any individual, runs true to themselves, whatever their belief systems, and that they run true to it, because that makes it even worse when it's, if I want to honor you for your decision and your choice and your reasoning behind it, right or wrong, you're drawing a line in the sand on your personal beliefs, and I can appreciate that. You wanted some final thoughts, realistically, the semantics on picking the president, both of them are not ethically truthful. They're not truthful. Our political system creates that and generates that, and our media glorifies it in the past more so than they're becoming truth agents now a little bit, exposing as much as they can of the non-truths. But the right president, the qualified president, we know may not make it through our system the way it is. I know that change takes place when pain is stimulated, period. And that's on a national level, on a house level, on an individual level. Change is created when pain is stimulated. So either candidate, we don't know what Romney's going to do for sure, forecasted. He'd be my vote based upon Obama's track record. Simple as that. The nation needs to go a little more pain, I think, personally, to wake the sleeping giant and to get the Christian and God-based community out there participating, changing the country at a more impacting level. And it's likely not going to happen until enough pain is stimulated. When enough families are hurting and crying and suffering and economy's broken bad enough, that's when we're going to see genuine change. And can we do it in time? Well, that's up to what our level of urgency is in looking forward and forecasting. Here's where we're going. Does it hurt bad enough to make the change?
Yeah, and I've had somebody even tell me that they think it's God's will that Obama remain president for another 4 years because he'll ruin us, and then we'll be in that kind of pain. And hopefully this country spiritually will awaken, and as you guys have all talked about, we'll have that candidate that passes the Bible snuff test.
And we'll have him ready to. We'll be a nation ready to have him lead.
Yes. We'll come to a point where we've been through enough pain, enough's enough. We'll draw a line in the sand. I'm hoping, I'm praying, that we will accept when a candidate comes with truth, with vulnerability, with, obviously some qualifications as well. But somebody that'll get up there and shake things up.
David Shedlock, thank you. I'm looking at my calendar. I'm going to try to find a day before the election for you to come back in, please.
Okay, great.
Father Tattoo, thank you. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. Brian Leach, as always. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth. 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com. Go home and pray.